Yeah, it's still a lot of debate about who we are. Cats arguing, we ain't African, we ain't black, we ain't this, we ain't that. Man, truth is, we all of that. Cause all of that come from us, you know what I'm saying? It's all about where you gon' fit in. Yeah. Yo, what's your name? You an African, an American, or an Israelite? Black or more, Muhammad or a provocateur, what the business like? Malcolm X, my enemy. Chief Turner, Dr. King, keep a burner, you repeat. Look at me, who you see? I'm garbage when I rap a bar. Every line is a blacker star. I'm masterful cause I understand who these crackers are. Nat Turner's my avatar, my attitude so desolate. I'm a mocking dog, these motherfuckers. Dr. Cotton, these Europeans know what I mean. I'm Farrakhan, never will I run. Robert Williams, nigga with a gun. George and Jonathan Jackson, Dr. Joseph Ben, Dr. Nam. Show and prove like Dr. Clark. I'm a goon cause I got the heart. I'm Dubois cause I'm hella smart. I'm Denzel cause I got the part. I'm Bianchi, Sutton Khufu, Mansa Musa, Shaka Zulu. I'm with Mia, I'm with Tulu. If I was Jesus, what would you do? I'm a Negro and I'm colored. I'm your nigga and your brother. Yeah, I kill you, but I love you. Accept your own and reject the other. What's your name?
What's your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you a dumb?
What's your name? It's the Chigaboo, it's the Torch Monkey, it's the Sambo, it's the Oreo, maybe Revolution is just too much for the handle. I ain't carrying no scandal, I ain't scary, I am Harry Tubman with a candle. Time to pick up the mantle. I'm a son to Wop and Queen of Zinga, Nefertiti and Queen Amina, Hatshepsut and the Queen of Sheba. She thinks she God, please believe her. Name is Osada, great escape. Angela Davis, Keith State, Winnie Mandela, refuse to break. I'm anime, refuse to hate. I see straight through cause I'm late today. Miss Fanny Lou, I got things to say. Miss Shirley Chisholm, I paved the way. The homie queen came to slay. Better Shabazz, I mean my Malcolm. Black love is the only outcome. I won't stop until y'all have some. I'm my set, this shit gon' happen. I'm Oshun, come bless the altar. I'm Nibia, I bless Walter. I'm Olakuna, I my daughter. I'm Oya, I cannot falter. I'm the one to give birth to stars. Masterful, how I work these bars. Series B to the earth to Mars. KOS, reverse for stars. What's your name?
What's your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the State of Black Education Virtual Townhall. My name is Zoe Sarabo, and I'm pleased to have you join us for a very exciting, informative conversation that we'll be having this evening about education. And so before we go any further, I would invite our panelists to join the conversation, to join the talk, and we will be introducing them one at a time. I'll give a brief bio about who they are, a little bit of their history and their experience in the education field as they present themselves, and then we will proceed with our the conversation that we're all looking forward to this evening. So thanks again for joining us. First, we'll have Dr. Tamika Sanders. She has over 10 years of experience working with schools and businesses in the areas of teaching, training, curriculum design, public programming, professional development. She has a PhD in higher education and a master's in business administration and a Bachelor of Arts in communication. A very close friend of mine. Enjoy working and collaborating with her, and it is indeed a pleasure having her join us in this conversation. Welcome, Dr. Sanders. All right, next we will have Dr. Rhonesha Blaché, right? She is a senior editor of an online learning program editorial. She has nearly 3 decades of experience in international K through 20 education. Her purpose and passion is empowering people through healing centered education. She has earned her doctorate of education from the Teachers College, Columbia University, her Master's of Arts in Education from the University of Phoenix, and her Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Arizona State University. Rhonesha is an avid traveler, lover of all the arts, and especially enjoys both teaching and learning through activity. And it is indeed a pleasure having her part of this conversation. Her and I working on some great projects together, and she is a brilliant mind with a lot of energy for education and the community. So welcome, Dr. Blaché. We do have Baba Amin, Baba Amin Ojuwok. Sorry for that. He has become a very close friend of mine, someone I can just, give a call and it's like, hey, I need to pick your brain. What are your thoughts about this? What are your thoughts about this? So I do appreciate knowing him and having him in my life. He was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, now based in Columbia, South Carolina. Baba Amin is regarded as one of the most powerful and effective grassroots leaders in today's Black empowerment movement. The founder of the Uhuru Academy Education Solutions, LLC, of which we'll be hearing a lot of tonight because I'm excited to hear more. And he has traveled the country leaning on his over 30 years of experience in assisting communities with establishing tangible education solutions for the youth, families, and organizations that serve people of African descent. Welcome, Baba Amin. Thank you for being present and being the inspiration for this conversation this evening. Thank you. We do have one more panelist. He is running a bit late, but his name is Shawn Gales, and we're excited to have him join us as soon as he gets the chance. He is a rapper, an activist, a mentor, an African centered educator. He hails from Littleton, Louisiana, where he earned his bachelor's degree in education from Philander Smith University, right, which is an HBCU. He has over 6 years teaching experience, some of which he taught in Ghana. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about that experience that he's gained through teaching there. All right, so welcome everyone. As we get started, we are live and we're streaming live on YouTube also and on Facebook. We will be seeing the comments as they come through. So as you're viewing this conversation, this dialogue, feel free to leave your comments and I'll be seeing that throughout. Yes, I'll be asking some questions, but this is definitely a dialogue amongst family that we're having, right? A much needed dialogue. So it's not going to be like an interview, all right? So we are going to jump right in. I see we have some comments coming through. So yes, we're excited about that. So I'm gonna get started. Let's talk about why we're here, right? We're here because there is a problem. We have a problem when it comes to the education system, the school system, and how our children are being taught, right? And how they're learning about themselves and how they're growing into the society and whether they're being prepared adequately to be citizens, not for this only for this larger society, but for our communities. And we'll talk a lot about that. So let's get right in. What is the current condition of the education system? What's happening? Why are children failing? Who wants to jump in?
Anybody? This is a powerful topic. I would defer, I wouldn't mind deferring to Dr. Sanders or Dr. Blaché, and we can pass this mic around.
Yes.
Sure we all have powerful viewpoints on this topic.
We do.
I have some language for that. It took me a moment. I had to take a deep breath just to process it for a minute because that is heavy. It is heavy. But I would definitely say that we're operating in myth, not truth. And when we don't operate in our truth, we don't show up authentically. We're still trying to navigate this fallacy that we've created. And so when we withhold the truth with anti-woke laws and demonizing everything that empowers us, then education or schooling, as we should say, let's differentiate between education and schooling.
Right.
Schooling will not allow us to move forward in an empowering way. We're going to be stuck. I'll stop there. Jump in.
I agree with that, but I'm also going to add the scoring, the way schools are graded, the way they get funding. That is a big reason why there's such this deficit between schools that are doing really well and schools that continue to score lower on those kind of the grade, I would say the A, B, C, D type of school, and they continually get less funding. So their opportunity to get better is not improving. Instead of looking at it, we're saying, okay, these are the schools that are continuously outperforming, doing great, right? Here are the schools that aren't. Instead of taking funding away from them, you actually need to look at them and go, what's going on here? What is the demographic? What is the area? Are there resources we can pour into the school, not take out of them? But also the scoring, this grade of how we grade schools also makes high performing schools, they dump students that aren't performing. They'll dump them into disabilities and other areas so they don't have to count them. They do a lot to keep that very high performing score. So again, our students, is that score really accurate and compared to how the students are doing, where they're falling academically? And so there's a lot of problems with this kind of scoring system. And so that's one of the things because it's all tied to funding. In addition to, like Rhonesha said, just Dr. Blaché, just the truth in the curriculum. We're still teaching that Christopher Columbus discovered America, right? Like we're still teaching things that we know are inaccurate, but that's what we're teaching. That's what our books say. And then there are big organizations making strides to literally rewrite history and lie. I think I read in a history book that we weren't slaves, we were indentured servants, and we were actually paid for our services. So that's in a history book. So there's a lot of not lies, literally lies, blatant lies in the books as well.
Wow. So powerful. And peace to Mr. Gales. Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
I finally came in. I had to come in on my phone because my Mac not working for some reason. My camera won't activate. But I'm here, man. How y'all doing?
We're good. Welcome. Thank you.
Overcoming those obstacles, man, as usual. You know what I'm saying?
I'm here.
In here, man. Yeah, sisters, those were Dr. Blaché, Dr. Sanders. Very powerful response. I love when Dr. Blaché says we're operating in myth, not truth. And then Dr. Sanders, and she mentioned some of the myths in the curriculum. Then Dr. Sanders came and you mentioned myths in what is high performing. Like are we truly a high performing school when we're just hiding those that are having challenges so we can get a bigger score? I would say that one of the reasons that our children are failing and a lot of our schools are failing is because failure has been monetized and incentivized. And when you're working assumptions about a child is that they don't want to learn, they can't learn. When you believe in Black inferiority, when you believe in the inherent inferiority of the people that you're teaching, then it makes more sense to monetize their failure than to invest in their success. And I think we're living in a time right now where the investment is in incarceration. The investment is in behavior medicine, not modification, behavior medication, right? And that's where the investment is. So when you monetize the failure, that's where the incentive is. And you tie the money to the test, the culturally irrelevant, a biased, standardized test where you basically set up to fail, right? Then so it all kind of works together systemically to make what's destroying our community a cash cow to other people.
Yes.
Well, I want to chime in. I don't want to oversimplify, but sometimes I think that it's not the students who are failing, it's like the schools who are failing the students, right? And then I think it's also how we judge intelligence. This proverb comes to mind that says you can't judge a fish how well he can climb a tree. And I think that's what's going on in these schools sometimes, right? Because a lot of stuff that we do that's genius to us, that shows our natural genius, is not appreciated and it's not considered intelligence in those public spaces. So like Baba Amin said, when you judge intelligence by a culturally biased test, the data shows from years and years and years of data shows that this same culture or same group of people is going to out achieve another group of people that's not culturally aware of this test. You know what I'm saying? This test is not fit for certain people, right? We know it's culturally biased and we still won't get rid of it. So I don't think the failure says a lot when the playing fields are not even, right? It's not like it's no data out there that shows a group of white students or a group of Asian students how well they perform in an African Centered school. Maybe if you took an African Centered approach and made white people go to that school, then the achievement gap would be backwards, right? Because it wouldn't be fair. So I think the data is flawed until you can show a group of Asian Americans or white Americans and how they perform in a African Centered school. I bet they have similar troubles, right? Because it's culturally, education should be culturally relevant. That's what I think.
I love that. I haven't heard that. That's the first time I'm hearing that analogy, right? We place them in our space and see how they're able to survive. That would be fun.
I would love that.
We see how it goes on the dance floor. I mean, you
know. I know,
right? Right.
It always speaks to that. The idea if we placed non-Black students in African-centered classrooms, what would that be like? I would have to say they would thrive.
Because of the way we teach.
Because of the way we teach, because of African Centered Education, we use the word African not to center Africans only, but to give honor to the roots of the pedagogy itself.
Right.
African pedagogy was never meant to be divided by different disciplines because we're learning out of context. We're learning in this fragmented way instead of bringing it back in a holistic way. So anybody who comes into an African Centered classroom is going to get a great education, not just schooling. They're going to be fed, nurtured by default. I mean, yeah.
Well, because the principle that's built into the approach itself.
Exactly.
Right. Because of the culture that's built into the approach itself, it would be a system that intentionally excluded. You know, our troubles in the public school system aren't rooted solely in the Eurocenteredness because we out European sometimes.
Yes, we do.
And we've gotten through and gotten by in that system. A lot of us have, right? But it's the intention. It's the intentional components added to that system that are intended to suppress, intended to exploit. It's the culture. It's the aspect of the culture that's built into that cultural thought, that cultural pedagogy that says we're superior, and they need to be educated into a certain place in society, and that cultural component is what's really harmful within the system that we're in.
And it's kind of the philosophy when you think about education in the United States. Anyway, the reason why they started making schools before, it was just kind of like middle school, grammar school. It wasn't all the way up to high school, college. That was just for the very wealthy, the people that were going to be the leaders, that were going to, again, control the masses, right? But it was made when it got more popular during the Industrial Revolution, when people needed to learn how to have basic reading and writing. Their purpose of education is not to create thinkers and to make you better, which is what the African Centered Education is. It is about making you a better person, using the skills you have and enhancing it, versus you're gonna, memorize this stuff and you're going to teach to a test, learn to a test, and you're only doing it for this purpose or this set of skills. It's a very, like you said, the school system itself is failing because, well, I don't want to say it's failing. It's doing what it was designed to do. It was making worker bees. It was making people that understand basic reading, writing, and math, and that can go and work for someone else for the rest of their lives. And then higher education was deemed for the people that were going to be the leaders and the managers and directors and executives. It wasn't going to be for the everyday, ordinary folks that they wanted to just be working in the factories for the rest of their lives.
But in a way, I would jump in and say that to a certain extent, it is failing. It's being successful in that, yes, it's from cementing that prison, that classroom to prison pipeline, right? But if you want to create members of society, right, to play the role within that capitalistic society, I think we're losing in that end, because in the direction that our society, the larger society, is going, my fear is that our students are not being prepared, right, to even function within the society that we are being we're being created to be, right? The more technologically advanced society, and with all the jobs that are appearing and disappearing, we are falling way behind. And so it's what does education really look like? What does education really mean? That's a question to ask in a broad sense, but that's also a question that we should ask for us as a community, right? How do we prepare our children for what is the immediate future that is coming and dawning upon us right now, right? What is the purpose of education at this time? Who wants to follow up on that?
I don't mind, and I would like to point out that the school system is doing what it's designed to do.
Okay.
Because it's designed to establish a caste system.
Okay.
Right? And we may say it's failing us because our purpose does not match the system's purpose for us.
That's
right. In capitalism, you have to have a permanent underclass.
An underclass. Yes.
You have to have a class of people who don't make wages, who are not wage earners. You have to have a class of people who are only consumers. And you have to have a class of people who are going to feed the prison system, because you need a slave system. In Western capitalism, you need a slavery system in order to uphold it. Remember, slavery didn't leave; it just transferred to prison.
That's right.
Right. And poverty, when you criminalize poverty, then now you can capitalize on crime. Crime is big business. So when you look at third grade reading scores among Black boys, when private-owned prisons are looking at the third grade reading scores of Black boys in order to put into their perspectives as to how many jail cells they're going to need in the future, then you understand that this is not by accident. That schools and communities are breeding grounds for slaves and in a permanent underclass, not even a working class, a permanent underclass, a welfare state, right? And so in that sense, now coming into the definition of education is geared towards pulling out the greatness that's already inside of you. Education, and then applying and then training you on how to apply that greatness to the world around you. Right. So it's like, the first question in education is, who am I? That's the first question education is supposed to answer. And then once that question is answered, how do I fit into the world around me? Right. And when you're trying to strive, but not being provided with the tools to strive, or you think you're being provided, like I'm the integration generation. So I was raised to integrate. I was raised to go to school, get a degree, get a job, and move as far away from Black people as I could, as Black as I am. I was supposed to escape every Black except the Black that was on my face. That was the plan, right? And so is that plan conducive to community success, though?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, because where we used to have doctors and lawyers and educators and all of that in one community, now all of those people, because of things like Talented 10, or integration, they've moved out of the neighborhoods, and they're in neighborhoods that I hate to say it, don't even want them, that wish that they weren't there, but they're there because they feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm integrating. I am one of them now, right? But as soon as something happens to you, you remember how Black you are. If something happens, whether it's the police or it's crime, you remember. They never let you forget that you are Black. But communities, though, like you're right, they moved out, and so we don't have access to the you can't be what you can't see, so we don't have access to the lawyers and the doctors, so that our kids can see that. We only see the criminal element of it, and so that's what you feel that you can aspire to. You don't think you can aspire to be the other things.
And we speak. Oh, go ahead, Shawn. I know you haven't spoken.
I just want to say, I think education is to prepare you to be great citizens for your community, right? I don't like the one size fit all approach that I see in education today, as far as you go to school, you go to college, and you get a job, right? Like Baba Amin says, that's feeding a working class, right? It's nothing in education that I see that prepare you to be business owners or really prepare you for a plan B if college doesn't work, right? I think that education should be more personalized than more like this whole approach, right? I don't really like that. Like, there's not really a big push for carpentry in school today. It's not really a big push for the mechanics in school today. It's either doctor, lawyer, or entertainer, and I think that's like setting us up for failure.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
I was going to jump on to another,
well, let me
question.
jump in then, because I think it was Google who was talking about, this probably was over a decade ago, when they came in and they were training teachers on Google Classroom and all those technology things. They were saying that what we're training our students for today is not what we think. We're training them for jobs we don't even have names for.
That's right.
For roles we don't even know they need to be fulfilled, because technology is moving us so fast that what we see today, we say, okay, well, there's a need in X and Y fields. Those fields may be obsolete when those children become adults. So we need to be teaching them critical foundational skills. So no matter what, you have those critical thinking skills to operate through any situation, through no matter what comes, you're going to be able to draw on those foundational skill sets that will allow you to think critically and operate with consciousness. I think that's like just so critical, because even like when we talk about our neighborhoods and wanting to get up out, I think that's also because we were talking about before the show got started, we were already excited and started the conversation and speaking about hidden histories. Say, for example, in South Phoenix, where I'm from, there was a community called the Okima community. I'm a descendant of that community. And that, like, you look today, we're just now struggling to get a sign up to acknowledge that community existed. Right. And there are other Black communities throughout Arizona.
Throughout the country, yes.
Right. There's so much local history.
I might move down on the show.
But if you knew that history and had that pride in it, you would want to come back and rebuild that community, that neighborhood, not just the hood itself, right? You'd want to invest in it more and come back or stay in it. But again, it's hidden and it's demonized when you see it.
So
right?
important.
Can I add one more thing to something Baba was saying? When you said education should ask you kind of, who are you, right? And then you help solve that. I think the other thing that I love about African Centered Education is this idea of, now that you know who you are, you know what that means in the world. Now, what problem, how do you want to use the education, right? So it's making you think, what problem do you want to solve? And then, as Shawn was saying, you can tailor education to that. If you know people want to solve a people-related problem, an electrical or a chemical or a natural kind of problem, then you could gear that education to them. But if we get people thinking about what problem do I want to solve, you're no longer a worker bee, you're an entrepreneur at that point, because now you're thinking about services, about skills, about tools, things that will help make that alleviate the problem that you're seeking. So I think that would be a great aspect of education that, again, we don't teach.
Speaking to that, that's what I'm doing in my class right now. We're working on problem-based learning approaches, right? Because it's a high level of learning. It's a high level rigor than just names, dates, circle A and B, right? So when you introduce a problem and you let them know to work through these different tasks to solve this problem, I think like those are the critical thinking skills you need to solve any problem, or to go out there and when you face with challenges, you're more prepared to deal with those situations. I think when you're in a class all day and you sit down, you learn names and dates, and you just learn circle A and B, it's cool to a certain extent, but I don't think it's transferable. No. I don't think once you leave the classroom, what do you do with that information once you leave? But when you develop a skill, a critical thinking skill, or a skill with your hands, or any kind of skill, that's what education is, because that's transferable. That's what you can use in the classroom, on the job, in the real world, wherever. So I think we need to teach more of those transferable skills, right? The critical thinking. And education should be more of a problem-based or a project-based learning approach at all times, right? That shouldn't just be a special month.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That part.
Yes, we should be developing solutionaries in school. And I remember growing up in my neighborhood, we was fighting poverty. That's what we were fighting. But we weren't learning how to fight poverty in school.
Yeah.
right? We weren't learning how to fight poverty today in school. We were like,
Right.
do this and do this. One day you could get a good job. We're trying to fight poverty. So you have friends that say, well, we're gonna fight for the streets. Had a school. They say you can fight poverty by selling drugs. You can fight poverty by doing this. You can fight poverty by doing that. But we weren't learning entrepreneurship skills in the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
We didn't even mention poverty in the schoolhouse. Matter of fact, they said don't use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
Now you're ashamed to even bring it up. Don't talk about your mom being on drugs, because we don't have any classes on how to be a child with a drug addicted parent. Right. And so when your education is not relevant to your experiences, you're not being educated at all. You're being miseducated, because your education is missing the point of your very existence and survival.
It's a serious disconnect that's happening, right? It's a serious disconnect because you are disassociated from your day-to-day experiences and placed in these four walls and setting with other people led by an individual who really does not most oftentimes do not come from your community, right? Teaching you and pouring information to you that really does not connect to you, right? Emotionally, right? Mentally, like you do not feel that connection to what you're being taught. And so as a teacher in the classroom and observing the students, right, I understand why people don't like going to school, right? Why they don't like learning, why it's boring. And I have that back and forth with the students all the time. Oh, I don't want to be here. I said, why you don't want to be here? Why you don't want to learn? But we understand why, because there is no connection to the realities of life, connection to their real life experiences and to whatever it is that they're learning in the classroom, you know? And so that's another aspect of education that is really failing. So we talk about it is set up for to serve the purpose of the larger society. And so that's one of the ways. And I think as parents, and I think we need to really talk about and really break down the nuances of what that really looks like to our families and to our parents, to our guardians, so they can understand that when their child comes home and doesn't care and doesn't want to, yes, it's the social issues with, name calling or bullying or being called this, but there's also that disconnect, the intellectual disconnect that's happening where they don't feel that connection. And, that goes into the roles that we can play, right? As a society, within the communities, as parents and guardians. How can we, until we can talk about the alternative, where we'll get to eventually, our children are still in this public school system, how do we help to help our children navigate, the system as it is today, so that they can still feel as though they're being centered and grounded within a system that really is very exclusionary in who they are and how they identify. I know I said a lot there, but it help parents to really, guide and help the child and the parent and the teacher in that experience,
Yeah. This comes down to parenting, and there's going to be some people that don't agree or just don't have time, but that is parenting. Like, if you have a child and you have a Black and brown child in the system, it is your job as a parent. You have to find the energy and the time to actually go through, talk about what they're learning. And I hate to say unteach some of the stuff that they're learning in school. When my kids come home, I've got my 9-year-old twins, boy, girl, they'll come home, for history things, and they're talking about presidents, and they're talking about whatever it is they're talking. I go through it. I read the books with them. I'm like, if I can, because they don't always bring their stuff home, like physical books, but we go through, what did you learn today? And how did they talk about it? Oh, well, let's go and look up some stuff. We also try to get them information that they're not going to get in the classroom about Black inventors, musicians, scholars, arts, whatever those things are that they can, so they have that pride in their culture, because they're not going to learn that stuff in the classroom. So it's like, we don't, as parents, I get it. We don't always have time to do that because we're working a million jobs. We're tired. We're trying to cook dinner, get them, in bed, but we have to have some time, whether that's on the weekend or you build it in a day, to go back and unteach and teach them the things that you actually want them to be learning.
Yeah.
If you don't, the school is not going to, and you can't blame it on the school, because it is your responsibility as a parent also.
Yes. If I may tag on that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Many of us didn't get the same thing we're advocating for right now.
That's right.
Right. So as adults with children, we have to also be mindful that we have a lot to unlearn, and we still have a lot of gaps to fill for ourselves. So learning has to be a lifelong process, and that needs to be instilled throughout your entire life, like throughout your household, throughout your daily living, not just the academic things that come home to get the grade on the school or to do the homework that's assigned, but like you were saying, Dr. Sanders, learning for the sake of learning, for the sake of empowerment, for the sake of knowledge, for understanding that the world truly is our classroom, everything we do, even front loading your heritage knowledge that you know and what you don't know, like involve your children in that process of learning it. So that by the time they get to school and they hear something that contradicts what you told them at home, they know how to use discernment of what to receive holistically, or even what to challenge, and have that conversation. And then as the educators in the room who themselves are parents, they have to like really do a lot of unpacking of how they show up. And again, if they're bringing that colonial education that they got, because that's all we had, right? I mean, we continue to I grew up in the system as it is, went to all the different schools as they are. They operate in very colonial ways.
Right.
But in that process, I'll do a lot of unpacking, do a lot of decolonizing myself, and go find out the truth in other books that are not being given to me. I even pull some out. Like, I just have to show y'all this one. This is on my heart. This is Girls Who Helped America Build.
Come on now.
This is a Black history book by Madeline Stratton. She had a few different names, and this was like back in the 40s, and it was so successful in the Chicago public school system that it ended up going nationwide. It did back then, right? This is before Brown versus Board. And it was so popular that there's research that has documented white teachers sending her letters of gratitude. Black and white children having conversations as pen pals about what they were learning in these books. So what happened with Brown versus Board? That's a whole nother conversation, because we didn't do what they're supposed to do, right?
It separated us more, not integrated.
Right. You know, integration never happened.
In a burning house.
Topic too, right? Not true.
Yeah.
When we
go
ahead, Mr. Gales.
I just want to say, like, so I'm an advocate, of course, of Afrikan Centered Education because it saved me, like literally saved my life. So, but I would say if you're gonna keep your kids in public schools, and I understand that most parents, many parents trust the school with the full job of educating their children, right? Like you said, they don't have time. If you're gonna do that, it's gonna be a huge gamble or risk you're taking when you send your kids to public school, because a lot of those cultures and values of public school are not aligned with the ones you have at your house, unless you can get lucky enough to have some kind of maybe an Afrikan Centered teacher like me. Like my class is a mini rural academy, but most classrooms are not like that. So I'm advocating that you place your child in the Afrikan Centered schools. The rural academy is enrolling year round. However, if you send your kids to public school, you have to work overtime. It's going to be a constant tug of war of family values and the public school system values, because you can be Black power all you want at the house. You're not at the school. You're not in the culture. You're not in the hallways. You're not what's popping and what's cool. So if what's popping and what's cool at school is not aligned with you, then your child, for the most part, is going to want to be in the in crowd. They're going to want to be accepted. So you're going to be, no matter how disciplined you are at home, and you can be in the Nation of Islam, you can be a 5%er, you can be Afrocentric. If your child is at public school, that's not the in crowd. I can tell you, the in crowd is not the 5% of the public school. The in crowd is going to be in a constant tug of war with your values and their values. So if you're going to trust the public school system with your most prized possession, I'm just saying you're taking a risk. Of course, I hope if they end up in somebody's class like mine, then hey, it is what it is. It'll be another rural academy experience. But if not, then I think you're taking a huge risk. That's what I'm saying.
we all have to have accountability. When we counsel with parents and advocate with parents, and shout out to my brother Bomani Ajamu and the Pipeline to Power program, you actually go in and we advocate for parents who are overwhelmed by the system. One of the things that we point out to parents is, you know, you're a child. Now, when you go up to the school, you got to sit down in that office. You're going to see a degree on the wall. You're going to see all these things on the wall. And this person is going to try to convince you that they know more about your child than you do.
That's right.
And you've been trained to believe it because of the piece of paper that's on the wall, and you're kind of intimidated. And the thing is, the issue isn't that you don't know your child. You also need to get to know the system better. You need to get to know the school system better. You need to understand who no excuses, y'all. You need to understand who your representative is on the school board. No excuses. You need to understand who the principal is. You need to understand what they believe, how they discipline. You have to make time. Once you have children, a whole new education begins.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Having a child is a process, not an event.
That's right.
A whole new education begins, and we have to encourage each other and lift each other up and say, hey man, we got to get in here and understand what's going on, so when things do go wrong, we can't just say you did that because he's black. No, you got to go into because you can't prove intent like that. No, you have to go in and say, no, based on policy, you were supposed to send all his work into the ISS room with him and make sure that he got his work done before he came back. And that didn't happen. So if you got to get suspended, you got to get suspended too.
That's right.
Right. And so a part of our work is also empowering parents. And one of the things that we see is, when you put your child in a program like Uhuru or any African Centered program that's building self-esteem, empowered children influence parents to be more empowered.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need to be about the work of empowering our children. Parents, we have to fight the messages that they're receiving every day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we celebrate Black success, but you got to listen to the message too. I'm glad that rapper's famous, but what type of values are being taught in that song, and do those values match up with your values?
Exactly.
And so if you're not going to tell them to stop listening to it, then you better be ready to have some philosophical discussions and go to war in your household to up, you know what I'm saying? And so there's no way around the work that parents have to do in order to protect our children, but it's a collective work that we have to do.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so you can't just say those parents. No, your child is more influenced by that child than they are by you. So it behooves you to help empower and uplift other parents too.
You bring up such a good point. Like during the pandemic, because we had to teach our children because they were getting, homeschooled, I got a kind of a day in, day out experience of how both my children learn, how they manage time or not manage time, what they really like and what they don't, how to instruct them, to motivate them, and what doesn't motivate them. And so that gave me such an eye-opening moment. So now when I get to go meet teachers, on the first day of school where they have the little meet and greets, I get to go talk to the teacher and say, hey, here's how my student learns best. Here's how my son or daughter, hey, they struggle with this, or they may not like to, move from station to station. A bell or a timer, that works, or they may be a little groggy in the morning, but this is the things we do to get them going. Like that helps, but you have to know your child so that you can advocate and show those parents how to work with your children to get the best out of them. But if you don't know that, you're going to believe everything that they tell you about your child and not really understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, and shout out to our Black Fathers Committee for being in the house, and Brother Bilal, thank you for helping to put this all together. They're going strong in the comments. But the question was asked, well, what about our kids who, I like the word children though. What about our children who appear to to be excelling within the public school system? What I've come to learn is, even though they may be excelling based on the structure and the system that is set up within the school system, we still have to do our work to adequately teach them and empower them with the kind of knowledge and information that we want them to know, right? And this is coming back to the cultural part, because yeah, they might be able to add 2 plus 2, right? Yeah, they might be able to circle the right letter A, B, C, or D. However, are we really empowering our children to be stewards of our community, right? Are they being taught the critical thinking skills so that they come back into our community to use that information in a way that enhances and elevates our community, right? So even though they're getting A's and B's, I would say it is still imperative for us to have those conversations with them even more so. That means, okay, they are ready because the basic stuff, they got it good. Right. So now we need to make sure that all that other layer stuff, okay, well, you know this information. Now, what is it? How can you apply this knowledge that you were carefully skilled at in the classroom? What does that got to do with us then, baby child? Right. What does that mean for what's going on with our community and our household? So I think it's still it's imperative for us to have those conversations, even if they're excelling within the school system.
And you brought that up. You said if they are excelling, like my daughter's in gifted, my son's doing well, A's, they're getting A's and B's. That means you especially have that opportunity to talk to them, because then you can take it to another step. You can have them critically think about the education that they're getting, critically think about what it means and the lessons that they're learning and that they aren't learning, right? The lessons, what are the differences between how they're treated in school versus how they're treated on the street? You know, when they have their basketball hat on or their hoodie, like you make them see the difference and how what they're learning can always go, again, going back to what problem do they want to solve and how can they make it better. Now, this does not mean that you want them going in there and trying to challenge, because then that may put them, but they're still thinking it. And that is the part that keeps them being gifted, but it keeps them having an inward eye on their community and how they can serve it, and not getting jaded by how academics will kind of tell you that they will blame our trauma and our poverty on Black people, not the system. And if your child is in that system and excelling, they can quickly start believing that those lies and blame their own culture and the problems of their culture on the culture, not the systems. So you still have to make them understand and question everything, even when they're doing good, and more so when they're doing that well, because they have the knowledge and they have the skills to take it further.
I'm around super Black kids every day. Like that's my job. So I really enjoy it, right? But I just, like you said, I would just want to make sure that if they're already that smart, then it's really time to talk to them then, because if not, then they'll take that natural genius, that natural Black genius, and it'll serve someone else's community, right? I was real smart in school. Even though I was wreaking havoc in my community, I excelled in school. I just couldn't stay in school because I was in so much stuff, right? So I was smart, but I didn't have no idea who I was. I didn't have any idea about my capabilities. I just knew I can go to school and pass because it came easy to me. And to a lot of our kids, it come easy because our kids are so smart. But if they're smart, then they're ready for those conversations, and they are ready to challenge, to a certain extent. Not being disrespectful, but definitely question everything you're being taught.
I think yes. Go ahead, Dr. Blaché.
To speak to the ways in which our students are even assessed.
Right.
They get those A's and B's based on assessments that we may not even agree with. As Dr. Sanders brought up earlier, what is it really assessing? Is it assessing your ability to figure out this A, B, C, D multiple choice test, to regurgitate what you saw them do and you did it, and so now you're great? No. What is the application? Like you were saying, like, what does that extra step look like? What is that experiential learning and ways they can apply it? Also, in what context are they learning it in? Because even, at this point in my career, with all the education that I have, I'm still having to unpack on a regular basis I'll go back to the colonialism within the education that I received. Even in, like, for my doctoral research, having to fight to collect data in ways that were trauma informed and healing centered. That wasn't just going in collecting data or telling somebody else's story to the extent that it becomes poverty porn. Like the whole Flies in the Eyes campaign. The Flies in the Eyes was the actual name of the campaign that we all can know. If I just said Flies in the Eyes, you probably have an image in your head right now of what I'm talking about. That was the name of the campaign. They were telling that story for a purpose. So we may learn these basic skills, but when we put them into context,
right,
and in relation as a whole, your math is necessary to understand the science, which helps you understand how you operate chemically, psychologically, sociologically, all the things come together. Then what does that look like? And then how do you use all of that to serve your community, to be in community, to operate with purpose? And I think we don't have to wait till we get to college or, or high school to learn them. We can start early. So I think that's so critical, even not only from an educator's perspective or a parent's perspective, but from everyone operating with that idea, and that the purpose why we're here, of why these students are learning what they're learning, is to put it in context of how it can be applied to uplift the world, to help uplift the collective, not just themselves. Because too often, like we're talking about the idea that I got mine, good luck, go get yours. So I'm gonna be praised by the system that says I'm doing great. I got A's and B's, I'm on the honor roll and everything. But the way that I got it, the way that I retain it, and the way that I use it may not align with ethics, right? So we're training our children to fight for freedom, not just for privilege.
I say context and narrative is so important. When we talk to parents and we talk to families, and a lot of students that come into, I remember when we first started the Uhuru Academy, at first it was mostly children who were being third party, children who were getting in trouble in school were coming to the Uhuru Academy, and the community was kind of treating us like an alternative school. And I'm like, well, that's fine. We're not an alternative school. We're actually an excelled, like a magnet program. We're really an advanced program, right? And these children would still excel because of the narrative when they came in. Students who already were excelling at school, when they come into the Uhuru Academy, they're going to excel more. We tell parents all the time, just because your baby graduated, did your baby really reach their full potential? It's great that they graduated. You're right, and then who are they going to be great for?
Yes, exactly.
Who are they going to be great for? Right? Exactly. When they get out there, right? Who are they going to be great for? And that's where you don't want greatness to mean an abandonment of culture. And that's where the narrative comes in, because you'll hear something like, you know what? You're an engineer now. And think about it, from being a slave to being an engineer. No, my history didn't start in slavery.
Right.
You were the first engineer. And it's important that our children that are excelling is that they're carrying on a legacy that goes back centuries. That they're a continuation. That if you're a doctor, you know what? We come from healers. Right. Your great grandmama used to heal people right down there in Mississippi. Our people, we found out we were Mende people in West Africa, and they were healers. And so it's important that we give our children who are excelling a narrative. When they get in that car, get the narrative. No, you didn't become somebody in that school. You was born somebody. That was coded in your DNA. I like Miss Johnson and how she taught you multiplication, but that was coded. That ability is coded in your DNA. This is who we are. We are builders. We are engineers. We are healers. We've been those things longer than anyone else on the planet.
Come on.
And we have way more free history than slave history.
Way more.
And so that context is important. And this community that you're trying to get out of, let me tell you how great it used to be when we circulated our dollars in it.
Right.
And make them understand that Dr. King them didn't mean leave the community. That ain't what I Have a Dream speech was all about. That's not what they was talking about, right? And so we have to give them that narrative, feed the narrative where they see the opportunity in being down with the collective, not like you have to give and sacrifice for the rest of your people. I'm going to lift everybody up. No, not that. All right? No, we have potential. And no, we don't need no Negro spirituals. We have potential to move ourselves into the future in a way to where collectively we strive. To quote Dr. Marimba Ani, our culture is our immune system.
This is why we need more community types of schools. And I'm glad that they have your academy to go to, but we need, for people that can't go to another school, we need just places where we can come and we can gather and we can meet. And we need more of them, because we have them, but it seems like they're so scattered, or it's in groups. I'm a part of Jack and Jill, right? It was started with Black moms. It's been around over 80 years, but it is still an exclusive thing. It's, so it's like we need some of these spaces for all of us to be able to come, to gather, to learn, to share, to connect, and then so that we can keep being great together and not feel like we have to be so siloed,
Yeah. And that's a great point. And shameless plug, right? So I'm organizing and planning the Ubuntu cultural immersion program. It's a summer program, right? And I've reached out to a few members on the panels here, but I'm in a classroom and I'm having conversations with my students, and I'm like, so what are you doing this summer? And they're like, oh, nothing, just play video games. And I almost died, literally. Because they're about to go to high school and they'll basically be spending the entire 2 months just playing video games. And so with that, in collaboration, a bunch of other things, I'm like, okay, we need to have something, right? And so there's definitely, that awareness and understanding that our children need more to fulfill themselves and help them to be productive. And so, yes, we're working on putting together this summer program. And I believe that Baba Amin has something also with the Uhuru Academy.
I'm going to do a shameless plug. I'm going to put a website page and everything. I'm saving it to the end. But yes, absolutely. We have our online, we've partnered for the third year in a row with Dr. Oya Mayad, who's an engineering
I think she's on.
At Morgan State University. And we put on the UACI Summer STEM Camp, virtual camp, students all over the country. And students come on and they're learning the African history in STEM, and they're learning STEM skills. So they're building circuits, they're building microcomputers, they're learning coding, they're learning the foundations of AI, but at the same time, they're learning that it's a continuation of a legacy that goes back to the birth of humanity, because it took science for our species to survive. Somebody had to figure out what we could eat and what we couldn't eat. That's STEM. Right. Yep. And so making that connection and linking them into a pipeline through Morgan State for those who are serious about STEM, to put them on a track to a STEM career. So we're enrolling for that right now. The camp is from July 8th to July 19th. You just go to uhuruacademy.com and sign up.
So I think I'm gonna. What's the youngest? Because I want my 6-year-old.
We go from 8 to 17.
Right. And I just want to say it's one of the best STEM programs that you can ever be a part of, and the kids feel connected. You'll be amazed how much children can accomplish once they feel included into the curriculum. We got interns from Morgan State University that log on with us every day that teach them how to do engineering and cybersecurity and things like that. And then me and Baba Amin, we teach them the Black history part, so they're getting the best of both worlds. It's an amazing camp. So if y'all have some youth 8 through 17, make sure you sign them up.
And spots are filling up. We only take 30 spots. It's quality over quantity. So we're taking 30 spots this year. They're filling up fast, but it's engaging. It's fun. They're learning. Y'all don't sleep on online education when it's
right. It is online. That's what I was going to ask. Is it online or
yes, it's definitely online. And we have students that log on from all over the country. And that's a cool part too, because now they're making friends in other places. And we might not think that being virtual is a personable thing to do, but this generation does.
Oh, yes.
They take their online friendships very serious. And it's an opportunity for you to see that they're getting some positive online relationships. So now you're learning who they're hanging out with online, and you know that it's safe.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me go ahead and give a plug then. I'll be
make you a banner. Hold up.
When this summer I'm happy to be in collaboration with Zoe for her program at the
The Ubuntu.
yes, I let you give the whole plug on it because I'm still getting my feet wet and supporting that. But drawing upon programs like the Royalty Project that started in Harlem. It's been over 7 years.
right.
It's called the Royalty Project, .com. In that program, we were doing it in person. We were literally bringing babies in and nurturing them. It was a series of adults who became mentors from all different walks of life, and we dug in and had 8 weeks every Saturday for 4 hours to work with them. You'll learn a lot about that particular program at the website. But once the pandemic hit, we kept going online, and it thrived, and we were able to move away from just being in Harlem to across the whole country, of course, all the way here to Arizona and beyond. So excited about that, and we're at a point now where we'll be offering the program for schools to take on if they want to take it on as an after school program or anything in any way, shape, or form. It could be as part of your regular curriculum, even that you could do that. So that's an opportunity. So if you go to the royaltyproject.com, check it out. And Dr. Blaché sent you.
Okay, well, let me do a plug. I create programs. So if you are looking at, I do different speaker events, but a lot of different educational programs, but I also work with schools and nonprofits to build things. So if you have an idea for a program, but you need the curriculum, you need the training, you need all the tools, reach out to me, Savvy Pen. That's a lot of what I do, is not only delivering programs, but I also help people create them. So
yes,
love it.
There it
There we go. Hey, my Ubuntu didn't get like that thing.
You hit me fast. But I got you. You got you.
Put it on there.
Give me the ribbon.
No, that's good. No, I love it, and that's also a part of the conversation that I wanted to have, right? Because during this conversation, what I realized, and as a parent myself, who is going through that process, with my 6-year-old, I'm very Afrocentric. If you know me, we're all Afrocentric in our own way. Another thing to apply it to your own children, right? When you're on that day-to-day grind, I'm like, look, you got homework to do. Go sit down and do your homework, please, because I got stuff to do, right? But even for those of us who are in the work and who we live and breathe this lifestyle and this mindset, right? Could you imagine what it is like for those parents who are not really geared and leaning towards this kind of thinking, right? How much of an intention it has to be, and that's why and this is not really a plug. This is why I'm creating. I did the Ubuntu summer program, because I realized that in interacting with our children, and I'm targeting primarily the teenagers because it's such a critical age, 13, 14, where they're formulating their identity and who they see themselves. And as we mentioned before, their friends are the ones who are really the biggest influencers, right? So if you're within a household that is really not supporting or teaching or guiding you through this phase of your life, by inculcating certain cultural identity practices and mindset, where are they getting it from? Nowhere. Right. And so we need to, as a community, really push different opportunities, right, to give our children that inspiration and that reminder of who we are. So Baba Amin has this science focused STEM program. Amazing, love it. I want my son, look, I might still sneak him in, right? Right?
You got pull. You know people.
Yes. He'll sit down longer, and he'll be able to sit still for more than 5 minutes. And then mine more is more leaning on the culture and the music, and what is your identity, and why do you see yourself this way? What is inspiring your identity in this particular way? We need to have these conversations. And so how do we what can we do when it comes to the parents and the guardians, right? We are educators. Are we only focusing on the children, right? When they come to us, what can we do to really extend our reach to the larger community so that this becomes more of a community effort? So it becomes natural, because this is going to be a process, right? Where it becomes second nature to think of education more of something that's culturally oriented as opposed to just learning the ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s.
This is where it goes back to community in those centers, because as you were speaking, Zoe, I kept thinking, I was like, you're right. Every parent, some parents hated school because their education experience was exactly what we all talk about. It didn't help them. It didn't serve them. They got in trouble a lot. They didn't see the value, right? So when it comes to them, you know, how are they going to see the value for their children? They may not, because they didn't have a good experience and they hated it. And so it's like, we have to educate the whole family. And that's where I love like community centers and things. I know Goodyear has, I'm not in Goodyear, I'm downtown, but I'm doing work right now with Goodyear and their community center and stuff. So they're getting ready for Juneteenth, but they have family programs where it's bringing the whole family there together to learn, to teach, to grow, so that maybe that parent didn't have a good education experience or wants to learn about Black history or about themselves. They don't know, so they get to learn it, or another language, right? They're learning it with their child together. And so it's something where they get to share and balance that. And once again, the parent gets to see how their child learns, processes, how to engage, how to motivate them. And same, the child gets to see that from the parent and see how their parent is engaged and motivated. And so I love that aspect, and we need more of that, because you can't reach the children always without reaching the parent too, because they got to get them there.
And re-educating teachers. Re-educating teachers.
And teachers,
Yes.
And teachers.
The framework that I ended up developing for my dissertation work, I named it the Black Cake Framework. And I start out my final chapter talking about how Black cake is Black on purpose. It's not chocolate, but it is Black on purpose. There's a lot of hidden history in Black cake. For those who don't know about Black cake, it's a English Caribbean dessert. It really is a cake, and it really is Black. Well, it can be different shades, as always. It tends to mimic the person who's making it. But the burnt sugar, you literally take sugar and you burn it. And that is one of the ingredients that makes it Black. You bring all these fruits in. So it's like a fruit cake and a rum cake with burnt sugar all come together. And those fruits are saturated in rum and red wine. So they're saturated in the spirit. So I speak about Black cake metaphorically for the process that it takes to make it, the history that it holds. And I use that as a framework for re-educating teachers to unpack the colonialism that is embedded within the way that they were educated and probably the way that they're teaching, and really rethink how they show up in their classrooms, and to what extent are they perpetuating the problem, or are they really trying to empower their students? So that's something I also offer through Blaché Education. Not to just plug everything, but just to really give some solutionary, as Baba Amin said. I love that word. I'm going to have to put that.
That's what Uhuru Academy Education Solutions is all about. It's about cultivating solutions, practical education solutions for our community, because our community is unique. We don't say solutions for people of color. We don't say solutions for non-white people. No, we're saying solutions for Black people, for our. That's right. We have a unique culture, a unique set of circumstances that require a unique set of solutions. And anybody that's offended by that is not your friend. Now, the first classroom that I ever taught in, because you're talking about reaching families. If you want to reach families, you have to go where families are. The first classroom I ever taught in was in the rent office at community center in the so-called projects. I was 19 years old. It was 1992. Butler Housing Community. I went there to teach a Black history class. Well, I went there by accident, but ended up teaching a Black history class in the middle of the hood. And I'm talking about crack epidemic, gang banging, things going. Children were literally there. One little girl was there because her house got raided that morning, and she just got tired of people asking her what happened. She woke up that morning, 9 years old, with a rifle pointed in her face. Right? This is how my career was introduced to me, how my calling was introduced to me. You can't tell me anything about Afrikan Centered Education and its impact, because being in that community for a few years, we started out teaching the children, then big brothers started showing up to group, then parents started showing up to group, and next thing you know, from being a rites of passage program with children, we had to form the men of Butler. That was the men who lived in the community. Then we had to form the women of Butler. That was the women who lived in the community. I look up in 1995, I'm driving a van with 12 other brothers to the Million Man March out the project.
That's right.
Right? To this day, in 2024, I'm graduating the children of the children that I taught in Butler.
Beautiful.
That's
beautiful. Beautiful.
That is great.
When you go among our people, when you come among us with something that we know resonates and is good for us, like our culture and our story, we don't reject that.
We don't.
We don't attack that. Y'all, I was from the rival hood. I was from the Blood neighborhood. It's a Crip neighborhood. But because I was coming over there teaching history, the neighborhood was so bad the bus wouldn't go in there. You had to get off the bus blocks away and then walk into the projects. Y'all know no one ever bothered me. I walked through the projects day after day after day. And because of what I was bringing with me, there was no problem. We have to get out of the mindset that our people don't want to learn, that our children don't want to learn, that it's these direct parents. No, get to know, don't allow the system to dehumanize your own people to you. And all the skills like what we have on this panel, it belongs to our community.
I say.
And that's
I wanted to add that to what Baba Amin was saying about empowering the parents too, because I'm one of those students. Well, not one of those first students, but I'm a student of Baba Amin myself, and Afrikan Centered Education transformed my life. So when I started my Black History class after school, it started with just 3 or 4 students, but then it turned into like a family gathering. It turned into like a collection of family reunions. I had whole families coming out, mother, father, the sister that don't go to the school, the son that do go to the school, and we turned it into a community, and it was a beautiful thing to see. And the only thing that's kind of the silver lining in the cloud of being miseducated is that the parents don't know our history neither. So while the kids are learning, they're going home teaching the parents, making the parents want to come learn too. And it's a beautiful thing to see the kids and the parents both learn together and it start to mesh and all make sense. So like Baba Amin said, our families do want it. If it seems like they don't want it, it probably never been introduced to them in the right way. Right. So I had a student come to me and say, well, he didn't come to me. Another teacher came and say, hey, this student right here, he said he don't like Black history, Mr. Gales. You need to talk to him. It's not that he didn't like Black history. He didn't like the Black history that was being presented. Yeah. Right. He didn't like Black history being taught from a Eurocentric perspective. Right. So I think it's another proverb comes to mind that says, I don't want to butcher it, but it says something like, you can't ask the lion to tell you the history of the gazelle, or something like that. Right. So we have to know our own history and learn our history to present it to our parents in a way that'll be conducive for them. Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that. And one more thing, too. It's getting late on my end, and I'm preparing for a Malcolm X celebration tomorrow at my school. It's our 3rd year. I brought it to the school, and it's becoming a huge thing. Now I got over 100 kids I'm serving tomorrow. So for the next 2 or 3 hours, I'm being here cooking and preparing food for the students tomorrow. So I got to log off a little early, but this was real cool. I really enjoyed it. Make sure y'all support everything we got going on this summer, right? Baba Amin and the Rural Academy and the what's the name of your the program again? The Ubuntu
Cultural Immersion.
Right there, boom.
Okay, make sure y'all support that. Speaking of Ubuntu, that's our school motto too. Ubuntu, I am because we are.
Yeah.
Right. So make sure y'all support. Everything we have going on this panel, because like I said, the families want it, the parents want it, and we need it. And not only is it necessary, it's also healing too, because it healed myself. So I want to say peace and Black power. This conversation and discussion has been like everything to me. So I loved it. So I'll catch y'all later. Next year, hopefully I'll be able to come out to Phoenix. I'm mad that Bob will get a chance to go and I don't. But tomorrow I'll be turned up with some students celebrating Malcolm X Day.
You go get it in tomorrow, man. You got
man. So Peace and black power to y'all, and a happy Malcolm X Day to y'all too.
Happy Malcolm X Day. Yes, Ashe. I'm Baba Amin. So I think we can transition. Let's talk about what's happening this weekend. You are flying into Phoenix. So excited.
Yes.
So excited. Yes.
RBG explosion
weekend.
this weekend.
Our Black Fathers.
Yes. Shout out to our Black Fathers Committee. Brothers doing great work. I've been collaborating with them for some years now. And I think this is the third year for the explosion. Inspired by RBG Family Weekend, which is a event that we threw every year in Texas. But also I'm excited to be coming out because I've been working with the brothers throughout the year with the mentorship program. I've had the opportunity to speak with the young brothers that they've been working with. I'm watching them as they buy land as a collective, and so I'm just super energized about coming back out there with the family. Y'all don't know I'm honorary Phoenix. Like I'm an honorary member of our community. You know what I'm saying? To Ag Zoe, I'm locked in, right? And so I get to come home. I get to visit one of my homes this weekend, and it's action packed. Everybody should come out. There's going to be a lecture tomorrow night, like a mixer networking event tomorrow night, right? And then I know on Saturday there's a panel discussion. We doing the Black Love?
The Black Love is on Saturday, right? Baba Amin and his queen is going to be here.
He's gonna be with me. You know, I can't do Black Love panels without my wife because you know. Yeah, I ain't running nothing but my mouth. So we're gonna be out there for that. And then at night it's gonna be the music gathering, the music performance, right? It's gonna be a show on Saturday night, I believe. We're doing some music.
Saturday night. The Author Summit.
Author Summit, is that Friday or is that Saturday?
I think that's Saturday.
Okay, that's Saturday. So the Author Summit is on Saturday.
It's Saturday that afternoon.
Yes, Saturday afternoon. I know Saturday night we doing our thing live, some live
music
and we performing too. You know, we're gonna rock the mic. The mic's still hot. I'm gonna be tight for the rest of my life, so I'm not gonna retire. All right. And then on Sunday, I think Black Love panel is on. I know there's a panel on Sunday too.
The panel discussions on Sunday about what it means to be Black, what it means to be African. How do we identify yourself?
That's my lecture on Sunday.
And why? That's on Sunday.
Yes.
No, it's hosted by you.
Yes. We're having temple on Sunday. The Temple of New African Unity, which is our spiritual group. Our only religion is Black people coming together. You know, and so we're going to be doing that on Sunday, talking about what it means to be Black, what it means to be African. Y'all, please come out to that. What's the time, Zoe? Do you have the flyer in front of you?
So on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
On the banner or in the chat?
Do you have the flyer, Baba?
I do have the flyer. Hold on. Let me see. You know how you can only find stuff when you're not looking for it?
Oh, so the Black Love Conference is after the book summit.
Right. Let me
summit
find
on
the right
Saturday.
post. I got it on a post.
Thank you, Drew.
I'm going to share the screen so people can see it. And brothers have done a great job putting this together. Family friendly. You know, and so boom, here we go. Just right here, y'all. Let me bear with me. Let me do this. And share. All right, boom. Here we go.
Yep, that's it right there.
The 17th, you got the Black Power Networking Mixer from 8 to 11 p.m. at the Culture Hub, 735 Grand Avenue. On Saturday, the Black Author Summit from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Grassroots Bookstore, my favorite bookstore on the West. You know what I'm saying? 1145 East Jefferson. And then on Saturday, you also have the Black Love Conference going on from 1:30 to 4. So basically from 10:30 to 4 p.m., we dropping knowledge, dropping jewels, and enjoying each other. Now, the Black Love Conference is going to be located at the AfriSoul Marketplace. Which is right there. It's right there at the bookstore, right? With
the bookstore.
Bookstore, right? And then you got the RBG Music Showcase and Party, right? Right. And that's Saturday, May 18th from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. at Central Station Studios. That's going to be live. And then we got the Temple of New African Unity and panel on Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the AfriSoul Marketplace. This is the RBG Explosion, red, black, and green, righteous black gangsters. You know what I'm saying? However you want to call it. We gonna be doing our thing all weekend. We want everybody to come out and, you know, let's get like you talked about earlier, Dr. Sanders, a safe space where we can just be us.
Yes. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Right.
All right. So I know people have been leaving their comments. Thank you, everybody. Miss Lisa Norwood talked about educating the village, right? And I think, we are creating spaces in Phoenix, safe spaces where we can congregate and have these conversations and learn from each other. And this weekend is a perfect opportunity to attend and vibe and connect with like-minded people who are interested and passionate about these topics and conversations. The bookstore, grassroots bookstore, is that center, AfriSoul Education Center, right? We are creating these spaces where we can feel comfortable in having these conversations. That's much needed for the entire community and for the village, right? So, Kylie, the virtuoso educator, next time we're having this conversation, you're going to be here. She is a huge advocate for our children, works within the education system here in Arizona. I'm not going to say too much about where she works, but she would bring a really big insights and policies and changes that are happening. And that's a big aspect of the conversation we really didn't get a chance to talk about. But, there's some major changes that are coming down the pipeline, or there are talks of coming down that will really affect our children, and how they're able to perform and be successful. So that's definitely a conversation that needs to happen. And the Modaba Micro School is another school that is a micro school that's located within the same building of AfriSoul Education Center. We work closely with them, amazing group of people, and they're doing all great things with the children within that micro school also. So thank you, everyone. I don't know if anyone has any last words, last thoughts, Dr. Roche, Dr. Sanders, Baba, before we leave.
Thank you for having the conversation and bringing us on. We need more of them. So thank you for you and our Black Fathers, all the sponsors. Just thank you for hosting the conversation.
Yes.
This is so needed. I look forward to more of this, to listening in, to more voices, to share what's going on, more solutionaries out there doing their thing. I also want to speak to just briefly the healing centered education. It's not that it's a new concept; it's just new language for what we've been doing. So look into that. There's now a healing centered education certification program out there. I think that's something we all need to do. Everything we talked about is for the sake of healing. Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
just want to provide some language to leave you with, to do look it up, see what's out there. Healing centered education. And thank you all for your time and energy. I appreciate this conversation. It's been so enriching and affirming. I appreciate you all.
I want to express my gratitude for this panel, for everyone on the panel. I want to express my gratitude for all the beautiful work that you all are doing. Our work is going to unite us. Our work is going to bring us together. And when that brings us together, when our cause, when our passion brings us together, nothing can split us apart. Because we're going to always put the mission first. And so it's an honor to meet fellow solutionaries. And I'm looking forward to this weekend. And I'm looking forward to more panels. We can do this again, y'all.
Let's do this again. Yes, the problem is not going away anytime soon. We got to talk about it.
And we're going to spread these solutions. And I heard so many solutions tonight.
Yes.
And work that's already being done. And people need to understand that the work is being done. So if you're walking around talking about, ain't nobody doing nothing.
Exactly.
You're right. There's plenty of people out here doing plenty of great work. Just because we don't have 1 million followers on YouTube, we're not content creators, we're community builders.
Yep.
Love that. Right.
Love that. Well, thank you all once again. Thank you for answering the call, Baba Amin. Thank you for being the inspiration behind this. Thank you for sharing the great work that you're doing. Everyone else, thank you for everything that you're doing in our spaces and connecting and reaching out to our families and our children. For everyone who joined and left their comments and contributed, we appreciated the feedback. And we will leave you this evening with, with all the information and hoping that we have marching orders and marching steps and guidelines and how we can move forward as we return back to our homes and our spaces of work. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. Until the next time. Bye.
Bye.
Peace, y'all. All right. I got to close out with some music. Hold up. I got to close out with some music. Hold up.
What you got for us?
But I know, like, what you gonna play?
Look. I got to close out. This one is called Gods. It's myself, my wife. We call ourselves the UA. And basically, when you know that your people are God, you move different.
Okay.
I like it.
Wow.
I will unleash the clock. Do you know what the Kraken is? The Kraken is the end of us. A colossal elemental beast. It doesn't think, it doesn't feel. Even the gods fear it. Release the Kraken! When you know that your people are God, you do what it takes to defend them. Get at whoever's against them, and don't hesitate to avenge them. When you know that your people are God, you thankful that you in their likeness. Ain't no more worshiping whiteness, ain't killing your enemies righteous. When you know that your people are God, you do what it takes to defend them. Get at whoever's against them, and don't hesitate to avenge them. When you know that your people are God, you thankful that you in their likeness. Ain't no more worshiping whiteness, ain't killing your enemies righteous. When you know that your people are God, you know that they only on top cause we let them. When we wake up, we gon' get them and put them back where our ancestors should have left them. Yeah, I said elfo, but y'all won't protect them. If it's between them and God, you select them. Worship they idols, your spirit erect them. They killing our people, why can't you reject them? The Bible's corrupt, the Quran is corrupt. As long as they use them to subjugate us. If the religion not picking us up, then put the book down and don't pick it back up. We gods, the scriptures are you. We already did everything that they do. After this wrote everything that they read. Our ancestors bled but will never be dead. You know that your people are God. When you can survive up my alpha, become educators and doctors. The enemy's mad cause he's not us. You know that your people are God. When after racism and lynching, you patting 1,000 inventions. Y'all niggas ain't paying attention. But you know that your people are God. This is our land. We was everywhere before anybody else was anywhere. We're the players, the owners. Mankind is made in our image.
You know that your people are God.
Come on.
When after the savages take us, kidnap and murder and rape us, enslave us and stick and not break us. You know that your people are God. Whenever I step to my altar, the ancestors take what I offer and watch all my enemies falter. You know that your people are God. When after the savages take us, kidnap and murder and rape us, enslave us and still cannot break us. You know that your people are God. Whenever I step to my altar, the ancestors take what I offer and watch all my enemies falter. You know that your people are God. Who on this planet can stop a black woman chasing my seeds? You better take heed. When we wake up, all my enemies bleed. I'm a new African, white he can't stop, but he can't steal and hella can't block. Let's make it clear like a shot of the rock. I'ma get free white, y'all wait on Barack. We gods. Women don't vote. We got when they got us chained up on the boat. We got to the pen, we got to the bricks. There's nothing wrong with us that we cannot fix. Don't know your power, you can't see the light. This is your hour, you ready to fight? A mother, a sister, a warrior, wife. I know I'm a god, but that's my life. You know that your people are gods. When they infect you with the virus, you still having babies despite this. Can't cap it, the whole woman's lifeless. You know that your people are gods. When they infect you with the virus, you still having babies despite this. Can't cap it, the whole woman's lifeless. You know that your people are gods.
Yeah. All All right. We out, y'all. That's how
Bye.
you end the panel. Great job, Zoe.
Great job. Thank
Peace.
you. Thank you. Peace.